Skol to the bowl. Whole lot of Skol gang on this one. Yeah. Hey. Skol gang, Skol gang, Skol gang, Skol gang, Skol gang, Skol gang, Skol gang. Skol all the way to the bowl, man. My team about to go get a ring. We don't care what your team doing, man. They ain't messing with the perp gang. It's our year, time to get this ring. Bring it home back to the Skol gang. Skol gang, Skol gang, Skol gang, Skol gang, Skol gang, Skol gang, Skol gang. Skol all the way to the bowl, man. My team about to go get a ring.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you kindly for joining us, and welcome to the first show on the new rebranded Purple SKOL'D Media. This is A Day with Mike and Kyla. Mike will be joining us shortly. What's going on? Good to see you all. Thank you so kindly for joining us. Hit those like buttons, and if you don't already subscribe, hit the subscribe button as well. You all know the names of the crew. You've got me with Purple and Gold for Days. You've got Rappin' Dave on Tuesday nights. In fact, let me get the schedule up here, see if we can make this look halfway decent. We'll see how this came through or not here. But having said all that, while we're going with it, let's see here. All right, you know what? We're going to see. Well, it's not as good as I had hoped. So let's see if we can swing him around. Now that was even worse. But whatever, you get the point. All right, so Monday night, 6:30, A Day with Mike and Kyla. Tuesday night, Skol Live with Rappin' Dave. Thursday, we have a brand new show, and it is called Purple Parlay with Jamie and Casey. They're going to do all fantasy football talk, a little talk about the upcoming Thursday night football game, and you can't see the rest. But Saturday, we have SK, Yogi, and Rap. They will be doing their show, which will be effectively the night before pregame show. That one is called the Skol Report. You know, that would have been a better idea. So, okay, Monday, A Day with Mike and Kyla. Tuesday, Skol Live with Rappin' Dave. Thursday, Purple Parlay with Jamie and Casey. And Saturday, the Skol Report. Saturday Night Live, the Skol Report. And again, that's Yogi, SK, and Rap. Let's get some of the comments in here real quick, and then we'll introduce everybody here. Mike, again, will be with us shortly, but we got Rap in the building already. What's going on, my brother? We got Yogi here as well, and we've got my guy, Kyle. NC Dog, dude. What's going on, Kyle? We got the barber in the house as well. Skol for Life Barber 1975. Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. So my co-host will be Mike Castellino, who you've seen with me before, and Kyla. This is a trio that has been together. This will be our third season together here. Kyla, how are you? How have you been now that I've rambled for 3 minutes?
I am super pumped. It's August. It's preseason week. I have a countdown on my phone I've had for a couple months of when the season starts, and I'm just super excited that we're finally here and ready for another weekly heart attack brought to us by the Minnesota Vikings. So yes. Really excited.
You know, hopefully we don't have 11 heart attack games this season. Now, it's better to have a heart attack win than a non-heart attack loss. Sup, D-Will, good to see you. What's up, Sodak? Good to see you as well. But with all of that being said, yes, let's hope. If nothing else, we have fewer heart attacks this season, fewer one-score games. We're going to bring in the third compatriot to the scene here. We've got Mike Castellino, the king of Vikings Twitter Spaces. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing okay, Justin. How are you doing?
We're good. We're good. Just went through the schedule, so you didn't miss anything. How was your summer?
Oh, it's been pretty good. I'm excited. Football season's back now, and I'm ready to roll.
All right, Kyla, I'll start with you. We're not going to go through the whole off season. We'll spend maybe 5 to 6 minutes on that. Just give a quick roundtable on that. But your thoughts on the Vikings move? We got rid of Adam Thielen, Eric Kendricks, Patrick Peterson. Did not have the opportunity to bring back Dalvin Tomlinson. And oh, by the way, we replaced our defensive coordinator. So, in summation, your thoughts on the Vikings off season?
You know, I'm pretty happy. I know a lot of fans were, you know, kind of upset to see some of our longtime vets, especially the homegrown Adam Thielen, go, but it was time to move on for me. And, you know, their contracts just weren't worth it with their production anymore. And, you know, Kwesi got, you know, unfortunately stuck with some, you know, unfavorable contracts. And I'm kind of happy that he's just sort of cut his losses and have moved on. I do want to see the team go younger. You know, that might hurt us this year, but I feel like those moves of not bringing these guys back were just moves that is best for our future. We'll have more cap space going forward. So, I mean, I know it was, it's upset a lot of people, but I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, it was painful a little bit for those that get attached. And I got I got my Dalvin Cook jersey. What am I going to do with it? You're going to give it to Goodwill.
I have a Thielen jersey too. I hear you.
We all got that. Mike, I forgot to mention Cook, so I'll bring him up there too. But Mike, your thoughts on was this the right move? Was it? We've said the phrase "no more sacred cows." I know that there's always going to be some, particularly with Thielen being that he was a Minnesota guy. We all know that. But your thoughts on the offseason in general?
No, I think it's been fine. I mean, obviously, I think we all would agree we could have used an interior offensive lineman who could pass block. Another corner, I think most Viking fans know that you could never fill all positions of need, but, I think they did for the most part, the majority of what they could have done. Of course, as a fan, you want to be nitpicky and pick out a couple spots that they didn't address. But I really have no complaints for the most part. It just, it is what it is. I mean, obviously, I would have preferred we didn't keep Garrett Bradbury, but I digress. It is what it is.
Well, we got him for relatively cheap, and that was the only saving grace of that move is that, okay, you could have either drafted a guy, in which case you would either have had to trade up or you wouldn't have Jordan Addison in order to take one of the centers that were available at the Addison pick, or you would have been relying again on throwing a rookie out there. We saw what happened with Ed Ingram. Ed Ingram, had his ups and downs, I think, being generous to say ups and downs, particularly when he's stepping on Kirk's foot. That led to about 3 different downs there. Yes. So having said that, it's one of those deals where, if you had paid him like $10 million a year, I would have absolutely. I mean, I don't like it, but I don't hate it as much as I would have if he would have been signed for market value. But the fact that you got him for relatively cheap, I guess. I get it. We've talked a couple times on some shows that we've done about having the same 5 guys on the offensive line for the second year in a row and leading to the continuity there. And that's definitely a good thing, but I'll still use my line. If your continuity includes 3/5 of it being mediocre at best, I don't know what good the continuity does. But having said that, for me, the move of the offseason was replacing the defensive coordinator, Ed Donachelle, with somebody who actually seems to know what the hell he's doing in Brian Flores. Kyla, I'll start with you. Your thoughts so far on what we've seen in practices. And again, I know you guys being up in Canada, you didn't see him live, but what reports and whatever else there. Your thoughts on Brian Flores?
Yeah, I've literally all I have being out in Vancouver is, relying on Twitter accounts, kind of watching tape and then interviews and just, well, first off, he likes to blitz. So, that's something different from last year.
Are we allowed to do that though?
Yeah, apparently so. That's going to be something, but I don't know. I'm pumped. Like I've heard a few players say, Brian Flores is like a no BS kind of guy. And he's making them work super, super hard, but the players are enjoying it and, playing for him. And, as long as, he seems to be really willing to, use the strengths of the players he has, because let's face it, the defense, like the players we have haven't really improved since, last season too much, but at least I'm happy to see a coordinator who's not going to run his own scheme with when we don't have the talent to provide that scheme. I'm looking forward to Danielle Hunter having his hands as a sand again, and as opposed to being, treated like a linebacker. So yeah, just, to me, at the very least, like it can't be worse last year, right? Like there's got to be
theoretically it would be very difficult. Let me get a couple of shout outs in here. Sodak, I said hello to you, but want to get your name up on the screen. Scold's Soup is in the building as well. Thank you kindly for joining us. Hit those like buttons, guys. You know the drill, but thanks again for joining us. Well, Mike, to me, my biggest thing about the defense is just be respectable. Don't drop Danielle Hunter into coverage. Don't blitz Harrison Smith once every 6 weeks where it's abundantly obvious to even a 12-year-old, hey, he's usually back 20 yards. He's on the line of scrimmage. You really think he might be actually blitzing on this play? Your thoughts on what you've seen thus far and what you've seen with the defense in general?
I mean, I think it's been okay. Obviously, retaining Hunter was huge. I think we can all agree on that. If we did not have Daniil Hunter back right now, I don't know what I'd be saying about this defense. I don't think it'd be very positive. That much I do know. I like the aggressive nature. At the end of the day, though, Justin, until proven otherwise, I don't know how I feel about this personnel. I don't feel good about it. I feel like it's Byron Murphy, and then it's a bunch of question marks in the secondary aside from the safeties. Like, obviously, I trust Josh Rotellus and Harrison Smith for the most part. I think they will have a pretty good seasons. But again, the defensive line, like I talked about, it's Daniil Hunter and a bunch of question marks. You hope Davenport can do what he did on the Saints a couple of years ago. You hope Dean Lowry can do what he did on the Packers a couple of years ago in the interior defensive line. But as of right now, again, it's just so many question marks, so many guys that you need to emerge at one time. And when you're relying on that, it's not good. But that's what happens when you don't draft effectively since 2016 on the defensive side of the ball. That's what happens.
No, you're right. I think that I have to temper my enthusiasm because I've always said, this is the third defensive coordinator in third year in a row. We've got a new defensive coordinator. We had the last year of Mike Zimmer, and at that time we all said, "Oh, Zimmer's the problem. He's a cancer in the locker room. He's, thinking it's 1985." Well, last year it was Ed Donachelle, and he was running a terrible system. At some point, you're right. We can't just keep saying it's only the coordinators. Now, I think that if you can just get this defense to say somewhere like 20 to 24, you're right. That's all we would really realistically be able to ask for. But I will say this. I think this safety group is starting to come around a little bit. And from what the reporters have said, that they're running a lot of 3 and 4 big safety looks there. So, but I agree with what you're saying. The defensive backs, particularly the corners outside of Byron Murphy Jr., leave a lot to be desired. And hopefully the blitz schemes of Brian Flores will be able to actually hit home. What are your thoughts? I'll start with you, Mike. What are your thoughts on Tyrus Tonga? There have been a lot of reports and a lot of talk that while he's not going to be the Lawrence guy from the Giants and
Dexter Lawrence,
Dexter Lawrence and Aaron Donald, he's not going to be at that level, but he seems to be actually doing quite well, holding the point of attack and allowing the linebackers to shoot the gaps. I don't know if he's really good or he's going up against our interior offensive line. But your thoughts on Tonga at this point?
Well, considering the fact that he was cut by Ryan Poles, I feel a lot better about it than I probably would if he came from any other team, just based off the way Duke Shelley played with us last year, where he was probably one of our better players. And I liked Tonga, Justin. I talked about it a lot last season when we were doing the shows throughout the year. I was impressed from what I saw, and he wasn't starting then, but he made an impact when he was out there. I think he's going to have a good season. But again, unless he can be, like you said, one of the top guys, it just won't really matter. We need such a significant impact from some of these guys on the defensive line, especially in the interior, because we don't have anyone, at least in my personal opinion, that I think is going to get 4 or 5 sacks in the interior defensive line. And when that's the case, it doesn't, put you in a good spot, because teams kind of know they can attack you there a lot more in the passing game when you're not going to really cause much pressure up the middle.
Mm-hmm. Before I get to, we're going to switch over to the offense here. I want to give out a couple of comments that'll be up there. Why are we all of a sudden bringing in umpteen wide receivers? And I hope they sign Dalton Reiser. I'll start with the wide receivers here. Okay, I get it that some of it is camp bodies, but this has kind of gotten a little ridiculous, the amount of musical chairs that we're seeing. And I know that Osborne and JJ probably will not see a single snap in the preseason, and you don't want to run Addison into the ground. You want to get him some work, absolutely. But with those 3 guys being, limited to none, you're going to need some camp bodies for these preseason games. But let's circle to the offense here. As crazy, I agree, Soldier Soup. It is way too many at this point. I would like to see, an offensive lineman or 2, and not just camp bodies. But let's talk about the offense a little bit here. Jordan Addison, as crazy as of a mistake that he made, and I think we can put it to bed. It's been discussed ad nauseum. He made a mistake, and it's not to be swept under the rug, but it's not to also be beaten into the ground. He is absolutely looking the part. And, if they were needing a number 2 wide receiver, he would have stepped right in. At the moment, they don't, so he can be the 3. But Jordan Addison is setting the world on fire, and he's just absolutely so quick and has gotten so much separation, albeit against our raggedy defense. But your thoughts on the Vikings' first pick, Jordan Addison, and the offense in general?
Are you asking me or Kyla?
Either way, you know what? Either one of you. One of you talk and the other one go. No, Kyla, go ahead.
I'm super excited. I'm so pumped for Addison. That's going to open JJ up so much more because as we've seen last year, we had to force the ball so much to JJ last year. I thought KJ looked a lot better to end the season, but last year with Thielen, just he's not had no ability to separate anymore. It was so easy for other team schemes to double or triple team Justin Jefferson because we had no other threat. Now we're gonna have a super solid number 2 who's gonna be able to separate, gonna get open. He's looked in all the videos been watching super great. And I know there's so much of an argument, like why are we going to the wide receiver position when there's so many other players in need? But it sounds like that was Kevin O'Connell's and Kwesi's guy. And we did need another wide receiver at that point. And honestly, like we know what our defense is, as you guys mentioned. Like if we can even be respectful, that would be better. But if we want to win games next year, we're gonna have to outscore everyone. Like we're gonna have to light it up on offense. And there is a lot of times when, especially kind of earlier in the games in the first half, the Vikings would have like a great first drive and then kind of calm down. But I expect with the addition of Addison and how good of a camp he's had, and hopefully he's kind of like learned his lesson a bit, being like, hey, I gotta watch myself and keep my nose clean. But I'm pumped. I expect the Vikings offense to be even better than last year's, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there should be nothing less than a 30-point game average with this offense. This team is built to be in shootouts. This team is built around an offensive head coach and around having the vast majority of its talent on offense. But to the comment that was made by the barber here, I hope they signed Dalton Risner. Mike, I'll ask you first. At this point, I'm beginning to think that ship has sailed. I mean, do you think there's still an outside shot? Because to me, if you're going to bring a guy like that in, get him in now so he can actually learn with his teammates. He's not good. He's an upgrade pass blocking over Ezra Cleveland. We all know that, but he still needs time to, get to know his teammates and whatnot. So is that dream dead in your mind?
It shouldn't be. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care who this offends or disrespects. Ezra Cleveland's not a better guard than Don Risner. I don't think that's a hot take. Don Risner has been a very solid offensive guard for the Denver Broncos the last 4 seasons who can actually pass block at a very solid level. Ezra Cleveland doesn't do that. And the reality is, coming out of Boise State, Ezra was a tackle.
Yeah.
We converted him to guard. Go look at it, his draft profile. There was zero mention that he could play guard. We forced him into a square peg, and we have stuck by it. And obviously, Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell, they have limited resources, but I'm sorry. Figure it out. You brought in Dalton Risner for a visit. Kirk Cousins wore 66, and I'm not buying this Ryan Wright story, okay?
Yeah, I know, right?
That's a bunch of malarkey. He wore that number for Dalton Risner. Okay, it's Kirk Cousins, as much as I think he's a little bit corny, that is just too much of, a coincidence for that not to be the case. I'm just not buying, this was Ryan Wright's number. No, of course he's going to say that, but I don't believe it for a second. They got to figure it out. Okay? Yeah. Today, I believe it's August 6th, right? Unless I'm out of my mind. There's time. It's not August 31st, but even if it was, does anyone here really trust Ezra Cleveland over Don Risner going forward? Even if it was the back end of August, figure it out. He's a free agent. He's not going to get a 2-3 year deal at this point in the offseason anyway. Find a price point that works for both sides and get this done. We need a guy who could pass block in the interior offensive line. If we want to be taken serious, like you mentioned on your video, Justin, when you did it a week ago, right, when this was all going down,
right?
You want to hang in with the teams like the Cowboys, Niners, and Eagles. You need a guard that can pass block in big spots, and we need Don Reisner more than most people realize. Because the amount of people that have told me on Twitter, well, it's not that big of a difference. Go watch back the Washington Commanders game when Deron Payne literally stole Ezra Cleveland's lunch, dinner, and breakfast all in a half. Like, what are we talking about here? Anyway, I digress.
Well, I'll say this. I don't know if the Vikings brought him in and they found something in, his injury stuff that they didn't like, or if Dalton's asking for too much money, or if he's, demanding to get a starting spot. I don't know. We weren't there. And of course, Kwesi and O'Connell are not going to say, yeah, we brought a guy in, but, he's damaged goods, so we didn't sign him. I mean, you can't torpedo a guy's career like that. And, if there's other things behind the scenes, you're not going to be that forthcoming. But I don't know. I agree. I really wanted this guy, or I like the idea of him. I like the idea of saying, you know what, I'll give up a little bit in the run blocking if I can upgrade the pass blocking, because that's the kind of team we are. Kyle, absolutely love your use of the word malarkey there. But anyway, I digress. We'll see. I'm not saying it's totally dead, but it's kind of on life support at this point, because like I said, you don't want to bring him in, a week and a half before the season starts and then just plop the guy in there. Now, if you had an injury to Ezra Cleveland, as an example, and you had no other choice, yes, could you survive that? Yeah, you can survive, but we're not in the business of surviving. You went 13-4. You didn't do very well in the playoff game. Why? Because you lost, and everybody's calling you frauds. If you want to be taken seriously, that's the one area on this offense that still has a weakness to it here. So
They were kind of, their defense was so bad. Like, I'm sorry, like they were kind of fraudulent. Makes me sound like a bad fan, but
no, it doesn't.
No, they were. I think we'd all agree that they were.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's okay to speak the truth. That doesn't mean you bash your team. That doesn't mean you say, oh, everything sucks all the time, as my good friend Ted Glover and Drew would say. It doesn't make you a bad fan to call a spade a spade. It's okay to point out that the defense for the entirety of the season was trash. Now, I will say, for the first 2/3 of it, like through the Buffalo game, before the Dallas game, they came up with some clutch plays, some clutch stops, some clutch turnovers, but you can't live and die like that. You're playing with fire, and that was not sustainable. And eventually the league caught up to them and said, oh, hey, yeah, the Vikings are playing back and they're hoping to just get into the red zone and hold us to field goals. Okay, here's how we can take advantage of that. And yeah, I mean, there are times where I think the defense, with how the season ended, it ended with the Dallas debacle, the Green Bay debacle, the loss to the Giants in the playoff game. We kind of forget, well, they did hold the Buffalo Bills to 3 points the entire second half, and that 3 points came on that 2-minute drive after they had scored a touchdown. So that's part of that Buffalo Bills comeback. They only gave up 3 points to the Indianapolis Colts the entire second half and overtime. You can't come back from 33-0 and only credit the offense for it. So there were times last year the defense did do some things. But, again, you can get away with that in the regular season here or there. You're not going to be able to make a playoff run playing that kind of defense here. But defense absolutely was the very good point, Skol'D. So we all – and opponents knew that. Yeah, and everybody knew that. We knew that. Their opponents knew that. Anybody who watched that team for more than 5 minutes knew that. But – circling back to the offense, and then I'm going to go over the schedule again and give the audience here a little taste of what to expect, not only from a day with Mike and Kyle. It's funny, I put all the ones up there, and then I left SK's up there. How about we put ours up there? There we go. Anyway, we'll go over the schedule, what to expect, and that sort of thing here in a minute. But realistically, how good do you think this offense? Mike, I'll start with you. I mean, to say, oh, wait, well, hey, they were a top 10 offense last year. Top 10 should not be your expectation. That's too low of an expectation for me. Right now, I'm thinking, you should be in the 6 or 7 range at worst. Now, there might be another team that pops up out of nowhere that on paper you think you're better than right now. But realistically, we talked about it. Got to be 30-some points a game. Where do you think this offense needs to finish in order to the Vikings be able to do anything and call it success?
First off, Justin, the Chicago Bears offense is going to be a top 3 unit based off everything I've seen on Twitter.
Well, Justin.
So how dare you not,
talk QB apparently.
Yes, a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence, I've been told, based on the top 100 list. But anyway.
Well, I've been told that Kirk Cousins is better than Jalen Hurts, but we can get to that later if you want. But I digress. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do want to circle back though, just quickly on Reisner. And the defense to talk just quickly before I get into the offense. Well, one reason why I just don't believe what you're saying there, Justin, about, and I'm not saying you were saying it, but this notion that they found something in his physical. Guy missed 4 games his entire NFL career so far. I just don't buy it. I don't buy that his physical popped up and completely ruined their thought process. I don't see it. But anyway, and Duke Shelley was a big reason why a lot of those comebacks happened. You mentioned the Colts and Bills game. I can't, I'd be going crazy without saying that play he made on Dawson Knox was a big reason why.
Yeah, that saved the game.
We won that game. Same with the Colts game. He stepped up in that second half, but he's gone. So literally one of the bigger key components of those 2 wins is completely gone. So there's that too. But on the offense, I definitely think they could be a top 7 unit. I don't think that's a crazy take. But again, I get worried about that interior offensive line and how much it will hold them back. Because when you play the Niners, Eagles, even Chiefs, Chris Jones, they're going to humiliate you inside at times. That's just straight up. So I fear how consistent this offense will be with that interior offensive line. And again, continuity is all well and good. But when you have 3 below average pass blockers, they could be together a decade. It's not going to improve. So I think that Cousins and Hawkinson and JJ and Addison will absolutely make this a very solid unit. Once again, and with those 2 stud tackles we have in Darrison O'Neal. But again, until I see another interior offensive lineman, I worry that they may take a little bit of a step back this year just because when you play this many elite defenses like we have on the schedule, there's going to be games you're just going to get wrecked inside. And that's why I was so adamant about Reiser, because that would change that. But as of today, they have not done it yet. So hopefully they change the narrative there.
No, all good points. And I'm just going to say that maybe it's what I want to see. It's kind of put up or shut up time for a lot of individuals because we got a lot of free agents next year. We got a lot of dead cap hits next year. This is one of those, okay, we've taken as many things that we can fix on the offensive side, mind you. We've tried fixing that. We placed Thielen with a Jordan Addison. We've got a guy in Josh Oliver who, when we signed him, gave a lot of money to. And a lot of us said, boy, you're giving that guy that much money? You couldn't save a couple of million? Because at first, when they didn't bring back Duke Shelley, I was like, okay, I can kind of see it. It might have been a one-hit wonder, flash in the pan. Now I'm going back on what I said earlier. I really do wish – I wanted them to re-sign them, but I understood why they didn't do it. Now I'm kind of in the spot where I really wish they had kept Duke Shelley, but it is what it is at this point. Kyla, your thoughts offensively? How good do they got to be in order to
I feel pretty much the same as you guys. Obviously, like, it's kind of funny after watching quarterback, especially after sort of the first week. And I was kind of looking on Twitter and random people are now being like, whoa, why do the Vikings like Kirk Cousins so much? The guy was just getting smacked around, like most hit quarterback since they started recording that. I think that's what it was. But
right.
Like, I have to say, super impressed what they were able to do despite the poor offensive line. I don't think it's improved. It hasn't improved. So I'm not worried about, our receiving core, our tight end situation. Not at all. It comes down the O-line. And I hate to say this and be kind of, negative. Like,
it's okay to be negative.
Kirk Cousins is going to be another year older. I mean, he had a great year last year.
Yeah.
But, people say he's not very mobile. Well, he's a whole other year older. He's what, like 35, 34, 35?
He'll be 35 in a couple of weeks, I believe.
Yeah. So it's just like, I thought he did, like I said, he got hit a lot last year, clearly. But, another year older, the O-line's not improved. He's not getting any faster. That's my one. That O-line will, I definitely think we could be a top offense in the league, but you guys are right. Just with the kind of defenses we're going to face this year, they're going to get eaten alive, and it's not going to be pretty. So we'll see. But I still, despite them, I still think I think we could be a top 7 offense in this as well. So
Well, to your point, he turns 35 next Saturday. So
Yeah.
the day of the I believe that's the Titans preseason game. That's it goes Seahawks, Titans, and then Cardinals. Yep, that's right. So next Saturday he'll be 35. Well, I'll say it like this, and then we'll get into a little bit of the schedule, and we can talk a little bit about the Seattle game. We can do in-depth breakdown on that Seattle Seahawks hosting the Vikings in week 1 of the preseason here, and football is back. Okay, anyway, jokes aside. The documentary didn't change my thoughts on Kirk, because Kirk as a person, we already knew how wonderful a human being he was. Wonderful husband, wonderful father. Okay, that's all well and good. I'm not taking anything away from it. I'm just saying, okay, water's wet. I already knew that. But I will say that I did have a little bit of a higher appreciation for all NFL athletes, much less quarterbacks, and what kind of train wrecks they put their bodies through week in and week out, and how much work it is to actually get healthy again. It goes back to, I've said this before, I said this the other day, that outside of week 1 until the middle of October, late October, they should get rid of, they never will because of how much money's involved, but they should just get rid of Thursday night games until every team that plays on Thursday night should be coming out of their bye week, as far as I'm concerned. It is just ridiculous to ask these athletes, and I know they get paid millions of dollars, blah, 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 whatever. But no, this is put up or shut up time for Kirk Cousins. He's in the last year of his contract. They've already said multiple times that they're not going to visit it during the season. Well, if the Vikings start out 10-0 and Kirk Cousins is the undisputed MVP, I'm guessing they might go back to the negotiating table at that point. But point being is that, okay, he's playing for his last bag. He's playing for his retirement fund, so to speak.
Give us fund.
I think
his grandson's retirement
fund. Yeah.
Second or third generation retirement fund. But okay, great. Second year in the same system, second year with the same offensive coordinator / head coach and Kevin O'Connell. All right. Give us everything you got. You've got arguably one of the top 5, if not top 3, receiving cores when you talk about Jefferson, Osborne, and Addison. And oh, by the way, some guy named TJ Hawkinson. You've got all the weapons. But to the points that have been made here, yes, this is really going to be dependent on what this offensive line can do. And hopefully the continuity, the consistency, and Josh Oliver being able to pitch in, or CJ Ham be able to pitch in, hopefully that'll be enough. That's all I'll say there. Well, what to expect moving forward on Purple and SKOL'D Media? Well, again, you've got A Day with Mike and Kyla. That will air at 6:30 Central Time every Monday night. We'll probably cut it, around 7:10-ish, right, to give you about a 5-minute gap to sit down for the Monday Night Football games. On Tuesday night, you'll have Rap and Dave doing their show called SKOL'D Live. It was a very interesting show with those two. It kind of faded at the end of the year, but we are bringing it back. SKOL'D Live with Rap and Dave. That is at 8 o'clock Central Time on Tuesday nights. Thursday nights at 6 p.m., we've got Purple Parlay with the GG crew. They're going to do all things fantasy football. My understanding of the situation, and don't quote me on this because this is their baby, but they might be running some interactive fantasy leagues or pick'em leagues with fans. So be sure to tune in on Thursday for that to get the scoop on that. Again, we talked about the SKOL Report. That, again, is going to be at 7 o'clock Central Time on Saturday nights with SK, Rap, and Yogi. I don't have the graphics in front of me, but 10:30 on Sundays, SK and Yogi will be doing the pregame show on Purple and SKOL Media. And at 6:30 Central Time on Sundays, Purple and SKOL will do a postgame show, and that'll be the rotation of a cast of thousands there. We'll all pitch in at some point with that one there as well. So, all right, Mike, I'll start with you. What should we be expecting? How many snaps is Jordan Addison going to have? And how is Jaron Hall going to start, or is Nick Mullins going to start on Thursday? Break down this pivotal matchup, and I say that completely tongue-in-cheek. What are your thoughts on this Thursday's game, realistically? I'm joking, but what do you got, Mike?
Yeah. I mean, it is important for some guys' lives and their livelihood. I mean, a lot of people do joke around about preseason, but there's guys that are going to make a living for many years because of this preseason for many years to come. So it's huge that way. Guys I got my eye on, Ivan Pace. I mean, how can you not? He's been someone that I'm really looking forward to seeing. Also, Andre Carter. I'm excited to see what he can do, see if he can surprise the other UDFA from Army, I believe it was.
Mhm.
I'm also looking forward to seeing Jaron Hall just so I don't have to watch Sean Mannion. I'd rather watch paint dry before I have to watch that guy ever throw a pass again. So that's nice. I'm not going to buy into the hype that Jaron Hall is going to be anything going forward. I mean, you know this, Justin. I think he'll be lucky to be a long-term backup in this league.
Oh no, he's got a
But-
shot to start next year. Start next year out of the gate.
Yeah, if we want to go for whoever the quarterback is
No,
at number 1, 2020.
2024, he'll be the starting quarterback, and he will take over for Kirk Cousins. We won't miss a beat.
And bring us to the promised land within
Yes.
3 years.
Yes, exactly.
The
Honestly,
thing
exactly.
is, though, like I know you're being sarcastic, but there are people that would actually say that rhetoric and would
Well,
actually
I mean,
stick
I'm
to it, which
being
is wild.
sarcastic. I would
No,
love
I
for
know.
it to happen because
I mean, I think we all would love to see a draft pick.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, if you're paying him $900,000, I think we'd all love to see the next Brock Purdy story, wouldn't we? Because then you'd actually be able to build a defense. But you have to be at the draft to build a defense, Quessy, and so far you've shown no ability to do that whatsoever. But I digress.
We might touch on that next week. We might, yeah.
Who else? I'll end it with a little bit Canadian flavor. Toronto's own Keneal Harry. I'm actually pulling for the guy. I think he's definitely going to be the guy I'm watching now. Bring him in. He once famously burnt Jair Alexander when with the Bears. So, of course, you do that one time, you're a friend of mine. I honestly think, Justin, you know, all tongue-in-cheek aside, I think he has a shot to make this roster. 6'4", different body type, different playing style. The Vikings don't have that guy on their receiving core. If he can play special teams, I think he could crack this roster. I really do. So we'll see.
Well, the only thing that's got me a little concerned about him making this team or not is, well, he does really well in contested catches. Yes, because he can't get any separation from anybody. You better be good in contested catches if you can't separate. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and you know, like we talked about earlier with the musical chairs bit, they're going to get some run because, like I said, JJ and KJ are not going to play. I think Jordan Addison will get a few snaps just because he's a rookie, but he's not going to get more than that.
O'Connell said a little bit he will be playing
Mhm.
on Thursday, so that'll be good.
So you did ask, Justin. I didn't answer. I apologize for that. I was too much worrying about Sean Mannion. Any chance that I have to bash Sean Mannion, I'll do it. I think he'll play probably 2 series unless they score a touchdown. Like if Addison scores a 30-yard touchdown against the Seahawks, put him in bubble wrap, be done with it. That's that. I think if he does something relevant early on, I think that'll be it. No more than 2 series, though. I mean, you don't want to play around with because again, we know this in the preseason. It's a very different dynamic than the regular season. Some of these guys want to make a name for themselves. And how else could you make a name for yourself by making a play on the rookie first-round pick, Jordan Addison? It'll help your case if you could do that. So you got to be careful with how you manage him. And it's, I mean, not surprising. We played Lewis Seen, Andrew Booth last year. Addison's our first-round pick this year. So seeing the rookies play, I don't think is surprising. But I am a touch surprised that they actually are going to play him considering how well he's playing during camp. But hey, there's nothing wrong with getting a few reps, but you got to be careful with how you manage your players because we know the preseason there's going to be injuries somewhere. You got to hope it's not somebody that's important. As much as I hate to say that, all human beings are equal, but for a team perspective, right, it is a business. You got to be careful with how you manage your team.
Right. Real quick before I get to Kyla's take, shout out to Dylan in the building. Haven't seen you. Oh, he's on the Facebook page. That's why I haven't seen him before. Thanks kindly for joining us. Hit that like button or hit the stars button. And if you don't already subscribe or follow Purple and Skull Media, hit the subscribe button both on YouTube and the Facebook page there as well. Kyla, your thoughts? I won't go with the jokes. Your thoughts on this Thursday night game?
Yeah, I'm with Mike. I don't want to see anyone who is going to be a starter week 1 getting much field time at all. Like, I find my anxiety levels at this time of year are always pretty high. Like you see it all the time. Like players dropping like flies in training camp and getting ugly injuries in preseason. Like I do not care about winning a preseason game. We always lose in Seattle no matter what. Just get some of these iffy guys playing time. I would like to see Jaron Hall get some playing time. I mean, we drafted him, we may as well, see. Like, I don't believe he's the incoming savior at the quarterback position. But hey, like, you drafted him, you're paying him. Like, I'd rather watch him than Sean Mannion. Obviously, we are all well aware what Sean Mannion can or can't do. So may as well get the rookie out there.
Can I throw one last thing about preseason in quickly? This just came to me when Kyla mentioned Jared Hall. I can't help myself but mention it. I don't know if either of you watched the Hall of Fame game.
No.
Man, I feel for Kellen Mond. He is just behind that 8 ball so bad. Like, I think mentally he doesn't have it. Like, DTR outplayed him. I think he's going to be cut by the Browns.
Taken DTR, by the way.
There were people, you guys remember, there were literal people who thought Kellen Mond would steal the starting job.
It's okay.
From Kirk Cousins. Like,
yep.
What? Like, oh.
These are the Kirk haters that want to literally bash this guy at any opportunity they have. And since I was able to bring up Kirk Cousins, you mentioned quarterback, Justin. I just went and rewatched the last episode because I actually never watched it because I didn't want to see Mahomes win the Super Bowl. So I just skipped through it because I didn't realize because it was actually in the last episode.
Yeah.
And there was one thing that really stuck out to me that actually bothered me a little bit. And you might disagree. That's fine. The NFL honor stuff. One of the best bits of the entire show. Kirk Cousins was invited on a day's notice. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's an absolute joke. And he said it. You know, I was already going to Arizona. We were 13-4. We had the comeback of the year. Our head coach didn't even get nominated for coach of the year. What a joke that is. Yeah, Brian Daboll wins it with a team that went, I think, 9-8. And I love Brian Daboll. But tell me how that makes any sense. It doesn't. Like, I just want to make this clear. This is why I say Kirk Cousins does have a narrative against him and an agenda against him. This would not happen to other quarterbacks. Like, this was Lamar Jackson. If this was Jared Goff, if this was Justin Fields with a 13-4 season, I promise you, he's not getting invited to NFL honors last second. That would have happened in advance. And he literally stole the show. Credit to Kirk Cousins for doing that in a day's notice. I give him some guts for that because, you know, Justin, I have always said Cousins doesn't take enough chances. He isn't afraid of being a little bit shy and you know, taking things where he doesn't feel comfortable. I give him a lot of credit for that because Kirk Cousins would have never done that a year ago under Mike Zimmer. I give him some credit for doing that.
All righty, one last announcement. Excuse me. Because I got to get going and I've got to prepare for my show at 8 o'clock, and that will be on Purple and Gold for Days. But for those of you in the Twin Cities area, if you haven't already heard, the night before the opener against Tampa Bay, September the 9th, 5 p.m. Central Time in the Northeast Palace in Minneapolis, the inaugural Skullfest, Skullfest 2003. What is Skullfest, you say? Well, if you haven't already heard, myself at Purple and Gold for Days, Rap, Dave, SK, Yogi, the GG crew, and a cast of thousands, we have got the owner of the Northeast Palace to let us run a live show from that location if you are able to. And this is also posted on the community tab on the YouTube page as well as the Facebook page, but there's a QR code there. If you are going to want to, we are going to be giving away prizes as well as doing a live show. We're not announcing the grand prize yet. SK said, nope, I got to be the one to announce it. Then, hey, that's fine. This is his thing. So if you are in the neighborhood, if you're coming opening weekend, come on down to the Northeast Palace, Minneapolis, 5 p.m. Central Time till about 9. There'll be a live DJ afterwards, food, drinks, the whole shebang. But yes, all of the content creators are going to be doing a live show from that location. So hit that QR code. You'll get yourself entered into the grand drawing. There'll be other ways to get some more entries into the grand drawing. But at the same time, if you are in the neighborhood, come on out and see us. We'd love to meet you guys there. Well, last thoughts here, just for everybody to know. Yes, the show before week 1, we will do our season-long predictions. We'll also break down the upcoming game. We're not going to do the season-long predictions here now, one, because we're out of time because, you know, we had a lot to catch up on. But more importantly than that, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and ring the notification bell so that you get the notifications when any one of the shows go live on Purple and SKOL'D Media. Kyla, I will start with you. Without going game by game, what is your realistic expectation, your range of expectations for this season coming up here?
After last year, I think, you know, we could have a similar year where we win, you know, 11, 12, 13 games. I also think we could win 7 games. I don't really have any expectations. We won so many close games last year. I mean, if few things don't go our way, we don't win very many games. So I don't have any I don't have any huge expectations for this team. I would say at best they go to the playoffs, but I don't have any expectations right now of this team like winning a playoff game. That's right now, though. We'll see.
All right, Mike, what are you thinking?
How about I have a little bit of fun with this, Justin? What they always say before you get on the roller coaster: put your seatbelt on, buckle yourself in, and get ready for the ride. Because this could go from up here to down here. I go anywhere from 7-10 to 13-4 at its peak.
Wow.
It probably falls somewhere more likely in the middle, something like 10-7. That's what I'm thinking. But there's no guarantees when you have this bad of an interior offensive line and defensive line as of today. That could happen. You could melt. And again, like Kyla said, things can change. Players can emerge. But if we don't know that yet, and God, I'm not ready to see how that falls one way or the other. I'm honestly petrified of the idea of how bad this team could be in the interior on both sides of the ball. But that's what I've signed up for. And a lot of people like to joke around my story of how I became a Vikings fan, that, you know, if it was a different hat on that shelf, I'd probably be better off. Well, it wasn't, so I'm here for the ride, and we'll see how it goes. So
it was fate, Mike. It was fate.
It's been quite the fate, I'll tell you that. It's been quite the ride.
Right here at the end, our favorite guy, too evil to hope. I hope Mike knows Zimmer is coming back. There you go, Mike.
Can I say this?
You were getting off this show without Too Evil sending you some love.
Can I say this? I've been embracing this now. So I talked this over with Jamie and Casey. So the Stone Cold Steve Austin glass is going to break. He's going to walk in mid-season. He's going to push Kevin O'Connell to the floor. It's going to be great. Cousins is going to have the biggest shocked face in imaginable. and the season's going to go down the toilet from there. But it's going to be really quite the scene as that happens. Whenever
Mike, my goodness, Mike, how did I get to be the positive one? I'm always the negative one, apparently. Well, in all seriousness, everybody, thank you kindly so much for joining us. We very much appreciate the support. And again, this was just the lid lifter. We've got shows again, as I said, on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Obviously, no Sunday shows until the regular seasons. But hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're on the YouTube page, if you're on the Facebook page. Hit those stars and follow the page there as well. And tune in tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Central Time for the return of Skol Live with Rap and Dave. And if you're interested in some more Vikings talk, come on back. Take your half an hour break. Take your lunch break. 8 o'clock Central Time over on Purple and Gold for Days. I've got Skol for Days episode 2 where I do my weekly breakdown there as well. For now, motto of our show has always been, hey guys, it's been a while, so hey, get ready. We haven't done this forever. As always, just one Super Bowl, just once, one before we die. Thank you kindly for joining us. We will see you next week. Good evening. Skol Vikes.
Skol.